Hey everyone, Kevin here, and welcome back to my channel. One of the oldest and worst takes many employers still seem to have these days is this notion that if you're in a job for less than 2 years and you probably failed and I don't want to hire you, also known as a bias against what they perceive as job hopping. But to be frank, it's a stupid argument in 2026. The job market isn't what it was for the baby boomers back in the 1950s and 1960s, where you found a job, stayed in it for 40 years, raised a family, and bought a house on that single salary, and then retired with a great pension. That was also when we had a strong manufacturing based economy where there were almost always open positions wherever you wanted to work. But that's not the way it is anymore. Only a fraction of employment opportunities offer pensions or retirement plans at all, and even fewer offer really decent health coverage. The cost of living has soared monumentally. People can't afford homes, and it's necessitated two incomes to live on. Not to mention how it has literally priced so many people out of having kids. Now, we have a very tech service based economy, especially in the US, and employers no longer foster the loyalty that it took to retain quality employees that they had for decades, like they did decades ago. Like I've said before, loyalty doesn't exist anymore anyway. We live in a layoff culture where companies prioritize very short term profits over long term talent by cutting employees at the first sign of trouble. It's even been termed forever layoffs because they never seem to stop nowadays, like I mentioned in another video a while ago. But what's my point? Well, the reason why this notion that job hopping equals bad is inherently stupid is because people no longer stay in jobs which actively make them unhappy or don't provide for their needs. I mean, I think we all can remember jobs we took and didn't like, or which eventually grew into something toxic, even if that happened in a short 6 month period of time. It was our parents and grandparents who encouraged us to tough it out and said that it'll get better, even when it didn't and wasn't going to. Of course, we all reach an age and point in our lives where we want stability out of our careers and to try to stay in one place, but that no longer comes at the expense of our mental health. And I think, for the most part, that we're better off for this shift in mentality. Heck, it's why me and so many millions of teachers, support staff, administrators, and others have chosen to leave education since 2020 because we finally realized that we could do better and weren't actually stuck in a job that we didn't like, even though we thought we were. And when educators, who are characteristically seen as the last holdover of those who would stay in the same job for their entire career, are doing this, it should tell you how times have changed. And speaking of age and wanting some stability, the problem with vilifying people for not staying in a job for at least 2 years literally leads to midlife crises. The idea that you have to put in your time, keep your nose to the grindstone to grow your resume, and eventually you'll get that corner office in 35 years is just so old school and antiquated. When you expect people who are just entering the workforce to do this for years and years on end, you end up depriving them of any sense of ambition. People are keener now on taking newer opportunities when the situation presents itself, rather than thinking in that 2 year minimum mindset. So there's no reason to keep looking at the calendar thinking that you need to do that anymore. So many are switching jobs every couple of years these days, not because they're failing, but because they can get better pay increases, retirement benefits, or health cares for themselves and their families if they do. Heck, it may be a job with a better commute or in a city that they've always wanted to live in. There are a lot of factors that are completely irrelevant to someone's job performance. Careers are short, guys. No one deserves to suffer in a job they don't like or keeps them from being fulfilled. Sure, everyone has bad days or has bad bosses, but they stay when they find a job that suits them and their desires at that singular point in time. That may be a year or it might be 15 years. The time length doesn't matter, it's how the job fits their circumstances in the moment. And the mentality shift away from saying that you have to stay at least for 2 years no matter what is going to happen to them and demonizing people for by calling them job hoppers for having shorter roles is just asinine these days. Simply put, you should be earning or learning. And if you aren't able to do either one of those things, then you should have the strength of will and ability needed to leave to find something new. Not to mention, if you take that promotion or transfer to another company, you're also helping the job market by freeing up lower level positions for more entry level people who are already struggling to find work due to how bad the economy is. I mean, what is it about having more than 2 years that shows someone you actually did your job well anyway? We all know coworkers who have been there for 8 or 9 years who put in the bare minimum to stay hired but are really lazy and bad employees. On paper, these kind of, for lack of a better term, boomer takes would tell them that this 9 year person is great due to their longevity at the company, when they clearly aren't. Same goes for you deciding if a job is worth your time. Sure, we all stay in jobs we don't like because we have bills to pay, but that doesn't mean you need to remain for at least 2 years just to figure that out or to look good to some employer you may never meet. And with the layoff culture we have now, most don't even have the luxury of staying for 2 years anyway, because they'll inevitably get let go in one of these company downsizing or restructuring initiatives. I guess it comes down to the point that if a company values their employees at all and wants them to stay, not only will they not have this older mentality in the first place, but they will also grow and invest in their employees, at least to some small degree. That's the difference between old tapes and modern tapes. And hopefully, we start having more modern tapes as the years go on, because this mentality just doesn't do anyone any good anymore. Well, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel tremendously in the algorithm these days and would be highly appreciated. But for now, I have been Kevin, and I will see you in the next video.